Hello, everyone. Giving a few minutes for everyone to join in. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Still waiting a few seconds. Let's wait for more of us to join in. All right, so I think it's time to kick it off. Hello, good morning, good afternoon once again to all of you. Thank you for making some time. If you're watching the recording later, thank you still for making time. Today we have a topic around dashboards, how to enhance your legal project management and client service with dashboards. You see a few lovely faces here with me today, so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to them. So maybe we just to say a quick hello and go around the table to introduce yourself, please. Corey, shall we start with you?
Sure. Sorry, it just takes a second for the unmute to work. Hi, everyone. My name is Corey Warren. I'm the manager of matter planning at K&L Gates. I've been here for about 4.5 years. At the beginning of my career, focused a bit more on pricing, and then transitioned over to focus more on matter management and legal technology, which is where I am now.
Great. Nice to have you on board. Thank you very much, Corey. Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Davis. I'm Director of Matter Performance and Service Innovation at McCarter & English. My background at legal just expands. I started in business development, went into practice management, was also included LPM and pricing. And now I do what I do, which is basically we try to keep clients happy and make sure that we get paid. And that involves using Clocktomizer a lot.
Great. Looking forward to hear more about that. Thank you very much, Jessica. And Peter, a colleague of mine, and of course, happy to have you here. Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It used to be the other way around, where I would be sitting there and say, "Please introduce yourself." But it's good to be in this spot. So I'm one of the two co-founders of Clocktomizer, which was acquired last year by Litera, and I'm now senior director of business development at Litera, and primarily responsible for strategic partnerships within Litera, but also obviously still close to the Clocktomizer team. Actually in the office with the Clocktomizer team earlier today. Happy to be here today and happy to speak with you, Corey and Jessica. Always a pleasure. And with you, Jolita.
Thank you very much. And I am Jolita Prukaitytė, a difficult Lithuanian name, product manager at Clocktomizer and Litera. I joined Clocktomizer, now part of a bigger family at Litera. And this is actually where I would like to take you next. Before we dive deeper into Clocktomizer's dashboards, I thought it's a good idea to take a step out and see what Litera is about. So Litera started in document drafting, but today it is a more of a holistic solution, spreading out a few different business units: drafting, workflow, firm intelligence, where Clocktomizer sits together with other brothers and sisters in the business unit, and the governance business unit. Some of our customers use a couple of those solutions across Litera's portfolio, but today we will take a deeper look into firm intelligence. So firm intelligence is really all about data. The problem that the law firms are increasingly meeting is the challenges related to data quality, fragmentation, silos, limited resources, and I'm sure we'll hear more from Jessica and Corey, more practical insights around some of those challenges. And information can be hard to capture. So firm intelligence is all about bringing the data together. And when law firms rely on gut feel and experience, there's definitely an opportunity to use more data to drive those decisions around data-driven insights. And let's dive in a little bit deeper. So today we will focus on Clocktomizer and how this solution and the firm intelligence can help you solve some of these challenges we have to deal with on a daily basis. So together as a team, we'll have a discussion today and we'll take you on a journey. We'll start with the basics of what the dashboards are. Curious to hear what we'll have coming out of that. But we'll also look at some use cases. Specifically today, we'll focus a little bit more on the client dashboards and the dashboards we can use to scale LPM. And as we go through the journey, I would also love to hear from our guest speakers today, the trail marks, so to say, on this journey. When you have to make certain decisions, are you taking a longer route? Are you taking the shortcut because it's pretty and more effective? So as we discuss through that, I hope that by the end of this discussion that we will have a few takeaways to share with our audience here today on how you can start or perhaps improve your own dashboard journey. So let's kick it off. What does the dashboard mean to you? Who would like to come to share first?
I can go first. I'd say I view dashboards as a bit of a one-stop shop. So where you can, see information you'd otherwise have to go multiple places for. And a dashboard offers just a more digestible and visual perspective.
And to add to that, I would say the dashboards are kind of like the data version of a sniff test. It doesn't necessarily have the nuance or tell the full story like a full data analysis would, but it has salient characteristics. Hopefully you've picked important salient characteristics that are good indicators of the overall health of whatever you're trying to track. And then you can dig deeper. So when something just doesn't look exactly like how you would have expected, you're able to continue to look into things like causation. That may not be apparent on the dashboard, but the dashboard can help you see things that are trending in different ways.
Great. So I hear trending, track, analyzing, visualizing, of course, of some of these key functionalities of the dashboards. And Peter, you are an ex-lawyer, but also a co-founder of a tech tool. What does a dashboard mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's actually interesting to hear. There's actually, I think what Corey and Jessica are saying are two different ways to use it. And I think that's very interesting, because you can design a dashboard. It ultimately depends on what your needs are. You can design a dashboard to really be that one-stop shop. You'll probably have a need for multiple dashboards then, because you need probably a bit more detail to actually be meaningful for that one-stop shop. Whereas if you use it to have like this global overview, a dashboard becomes something that could actually be one page. And you have the high-level metrics on the dashboard that you need to then dive in deeper. And I think those are actually two different use cases. So this is why we have multiple panelists, actually, because it makes much more. It shows us different perspectives on the same question. For me, dashboards, I've really used them to see where the business was growing, and especially from a sales perspective, right? Is our pipeline sufficiently stuffed? And I have this. Probably people hate me for it, but I have this way of changing dashboards way too often, and I think actually that's an unhealthy habit, because it essentially means that you haven't settled on what's really important to you. But I think it's also a sign of a company, right? You have it changes, and so do the metrics that you want to keep track of. So I think again, then flexibility to be able to update those dashboards and maybe start having a few. That's how that dashboarding functionality has matured with the company. So that would be my view. But I like to see I have some key metrics, and I like to be able to see what the trend is on those. That's, to me, would be my initial thing, and then obviously from there you will go dig deeper if you see something's wrong. But having that understanding is something that can be missing in the first place. That's, I think, why you're looking for a dashboard, because you try to surface some data and get back to it on a regular basis without having to redo all your reporting stuff. So that's to me what the dashboard means.
Great, and I would love to, of course, carry discussion on a little bit more, especially about the change factor. How do we deal with changing priorities and what metrics and what data we include? So let's touch on that in a bit. But let's, first of all, I would love to look into a specific use case so we can see a type of a dashboard. And this doesn't mean that this is the ultimate answer. And Corey, this is something that you shared as well as a use case for a client dashboard. So please share, how does it help you and what is it that it helps you achieve?
Sure. So I think at its base, this is a really simple example, right? But just for context, we had set up custom task codes that corresponded to our clients' products. So then we were able to very quickly set up a dashboard, and these are just two separate visuals from the drill down. So two separate reports, and the resulting export from the dashboard is just one nice PDF that has both of these visuals in it. And the other really great feature about the dashboards in Clocktomizer is that you can set up scheduled reoccurring reports, which is really nice because this report can then be sent off, weekly, monthly, etc. And it just is exported as and sent as this really nice single page PDF. But this type of reporting and analytics can really deliver value to our clients because it aligns very closely with their unique internal business processes and internal considerations. So whether that's specific products like what we were looking at here, or business lines or project portfolios. So a dashboard like this can allow us and our clients to just very quickly understand, for example, how much of their legal spend for the year was related to a certain product. And I think this kind of probably helps explain what I meant by one-stop shop, and that we really are using dashboards heavily right now to consolidate what otherwise would be separate reports in Clocktomizer. So instead of having to send, our lawyers or clients multiple emails, multiple PDFs, the dashboard allows us to have more of a one-stop shop where all of those are in one place.
Right, and how flexible are you with these dashboards? Is it something you set in stone, or does it change over time if your customers might, let's say, demand some different information in these?
I'd say it's very flexible. I think that's one of the things that I find really great about Clocktomizer is how flexible it is. I think that, we are still learning all of the things that Clocktomizer can do in different ways that it can present data. So I think we, will typically start out with something like this, and then as the matter continues to go along, either our lawyers or our clients might say, I'm a bit more interested in who's doing the work within each of these products. And so that presents the opportunity to dig a little deeper. And as Jessica just mentioned earlier, about the dashboard sometimes being a more high-level view that presents, questions and opportunities to dig deeper. I think that's, a good example of that.
Right. Any more observations, maybe questions from Jessica or Peter around this dashboard?
Well, I have one question, and it relates to a client dashboard. Do you set them up for clients to receive that information, or does it go to a partner first? And then second part of that question is, do you set it up for every client, or is it a key client program that the clients are part of? What's your process around that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say it's very much, based on each individual use case. I believe that this particular example, we were sending these reports to the lawyers, and then they were sharing those with the clients on a monthly basis. And it was part of a, monthly process, a monthly review that they did with their client, where they provided those reports to the client. And I'm sure that some type of, discussion and review accompanied that. And I would say that's pretty common. That's also the case for a number of the other reports that we do that are similar to this. So I think we're still very much at a point where we're setting up the reports to go out to the lawyers, and then they're sharing those with their clients as part of a larger conversation. But kind of an interesting use case is we have had a few situations where we have developed an automatic feed into a HiQ site, you know, a folder where the clients have access to, and we feed the Clocktomizer reports automatically, and they're able to go in and access those whenever they'd like. We'd received feedback that, you know, the client has a Friday morning meeting with their CFO, and they really like the ability to just go in and access those reports whenever they need if a question comes up in a meeting.
Awesome. Yeah, I think
Great.
that, you know, we're looking for those kind of things, and I think that, you know, that's where we do see firms take this, is that, you know, they have specific reports, and they may actually be different from client to client, but to help them with, you know, whenever you walk into a meeting, or whenever there's questions about what is the work that we do for this client, or if that client asks, what is the work actually that you're doing for us, because they may not even know, right? So it's I think the onus is on firms to have that at their fingertips, and then be able to say, well, here's what we do, actually let's slice and dice it. And yeah, I'm really I think that's where the future of well, that's one part of the future of dashboards.
Yeah, and I would like to
Yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
Well, see, I would like to echo Corey's sentiment about where Clocktomizer dashboards fit in our just overall, all the different dashboards and things that we have. You know, we also have firm like financial maintenance dashboards and business intelligence platforms, performance, you know, measurements, but Clocktomizer like allows you to create those customized things at the client matter and even sub matter level. And the examples that I have fall exactly into that category as well. And similar to Peter's point, the ability to make changes is super critical, because those enterprise-wide dashboards, those are really hard to get changes into, and sometimes those changes are not necessarily appropriate. It doesn't necessarily apply to everybody in the firm. It could be a very specific thing. And so the Clocktomizer allows, dashboards allow us to dedicate ourselves to one specific use case, customize it so that the client is really happy, the partner is really happy, and they get exactly what they need. I can talk about, this is actually one of our examples. So WIP is something that's on everybody's like enterprise-wide intelligence platforms, but we also track, we're responsible in part for outside counsel guidelines compliance. And so things like narrative quality are really important to us. And so we did not always start out at 99%. This is where we are in the journey. We started not there, but having this kind of, like Corey was saying, one-stop shop on a dashboard, we can quickly and easily see it. This has been really helpful. And then I guess, Peter, to your point, the user, it's generally the LPM users.
Yeah, yeah. And when you talk narrative quality, maybe what are you measuring in that particular situation? I know, well, but maybe not all of our audience knows.
I was gonna say, you guys wrote the algorithm, so you're the expert. But for me, what narrative quality means for me, I'm really looking for something that is very clear, so it's not vague. It includes, ideally, would have the people involved, the types of work product that they're working on, and the purpose of why they're working on those things. So hopefully it has some degree of specificity as well.
Awesome.
Great. And let's maybe while Jessica, we have you share your experience around this chart, maybe you can also add a little bit more insight into another example dashboard that you have, and how does this help you in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, so this is another example of where just like it's a very client-specific request. It aligns with their internal business structure. So this represents, you know, in this example, I have 4 matters, but it's a subset of a larger portfolio of work that we do for our client. But these specific matters, a subset of those matters relate to one project from the client's perspective. So there's no enterprise level dashboard that we have at McCarter that allows us to do this. But because we have the ability to customize this type of drill down report and add it to the dashboard in Clocktimizer, we are able to get this information a lot easier. And we could have, before we set this up, when we first did the analysis, we did it in Excel. We, exported from our accounting system, but we don't need to do that on a regular basis. Once we figured out what we needed to see, we set it up in Clocktimizer. Now it's, a click away.
Right, that's great to hear. And it's always nice to see our product in action. Well, so I see you have matters and timekeepers here, and of course you can have any split you like, but I'm also curious about the values that you choose, the metrics that you choose to display. How do you decide which ones to display, and do you customize that per customer?
So this is internal tracking. We track this for ourselves. This report does not go to the customer, but we provide insights based on what we see from this report to the partners, who then involve those in conversations with the client. And in this specific situation, the percentage was important because, as I mentioned, it's one project from their perspective, but they had to split it out across some matters. And so they want to make sure that it's balanced in an appropriate way based on their business needs. And then we're in legal. Our widget is time, so of course we're going to look at hours. And then we are a for-profit entity, so we really care about how much, what that translates to in terms of money.
Great. So it's also interesting to hear that, if you think of dashboards, you could have them for external reporting. What Corey mentioned a little bit more, finding these folders in for your customers to access, or it could be internal reporting. So the similar charts and similar information, but how you position that differently. So it's great to hear these different use cases. And also what stands out for me, that these are quite simple charts in a way. So the simplicity of them, because if I think of a dashboard, sometimes you think, how do I start and which charts do I choose? Which KPIs do I choose? And sometimes I hear from in the legal field as well, or in any field, if you take on this big project, how do you get it started? And it can turn into enormous task and difficult to achieve the common decision amongst the team members. So that simplicity of what you are displaying here and that quick call to action, it's great to hear that. And I think, I'm already not jumping ahead, but this is, I admire that you are able to get these quick call to actions in quite a short time. But also, I think, if you look at more complex dashboards, and I'm not saying they're not necessary, you might have different functions for them. You might think of a different audience. You might want to have multiple of them. You might want to add diversity. And this is just to illustrate some of the functionality and some charts we do have at Clocktimizer. But how do you choose and how do you get started with that? So maybe it would be a good time to discuss a little bit about how you can use dashboards, or even multiple dashboards, for scaling LPM processes or any other use cases outside quick call to actions on the customer client service side.
Yeah, and Jolita, this is definitely something that we've been exploring much more recently, because our team of legal project managers has really expanded very much so over the past few months. So I think our hope is really to be able to utilize dashboards to help our LPMs keep an eye on the key performance indicators for the clients that they're helping manage and support, and understanding really at the end of the day the makeup of that work. For example, one of the dashboards that we've been working on contains, a high-level summary of the work done by month, by timekeeper, by practice group, by matter. So just kind of, some key information at their fingertips. And then, we have some legal project managers that focus on one very important client. And so their multiple dashboards might just be, different matter groups that align with the business lines for that client. Jessica mentioned the idea of the custom matter groups. That's something we leverage all the time. As Jessica mentioned, there's not really another firm tool that easily allows you to group different matters together to consider as one portfolio. So we leverage that very heavily. And then I think also, we have LPMs that are supporting many different clients. And so having the ability to have, a dashboard for each of those clients is also really helpful. We're still very early on in that journey, but I definitely, see us being able to leverage the multiple dashboards in some really great ways in the near future.
That sounds exciting. And I think even though you can do it all with one dashboard or a few reports, I think that ease of use is what keeps on coming back to the surface. It's important to make the data not only accessible from analytical point of view that your pricing and LPM teams can analyze it, but how do you easily share that? And actually, we just received a question in our Q&A section as well. So as a reminder, or I'm not sure I announced that at the beginning, but we do have a Q&A section. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share. And we have a question around how do we share, how do we get attorneys access to the dashboards? And I'm just quoting the question as well. Believe it or not, it can be challenging for some attorneys to get the dashboards if more than a few clicks are required. Those attorneys prefer to receive information via email. Any comments on that? How do you go around that in your firms, Corey, Jessica?
Probably some helpful context would be that currently at K&L Gates, just our team and a few select others on similar teams have direct access to Clocktomizer. So what we do for the dashboards is we set them up as scheduled reoccurring reports. And so the lawyers themselves are just getting an email on the cadence they'd like, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly. So they're just getting a nice automated email with a PDF report. They don't actually have to log in, click anywhere. So I know that they definitely really appreciate that. Whereas our LPMs have direct access to Clocktomizer, and so they're in there more experimenting and navigating to the different dashboards. So that's just obviously how it is currently at our firm. Jessica, I'm curious if it's similar for you.
Yes, it is similar for us. For Clocktomizer usage, generally it is just the LPM and pricing teams who have access to the actual platform. But more broadly, how do you get lawyers to use dashboards? In my experience, it's a one-on-one grassroots effort. So usually I found that when they have a question, because they always have questions, they always want to know about their metrics, I definitely have shown them how to get that information like one-on-one. And sometimes it takes a few times, and then one day they're like, oh, I didn't know that I could just get this at any time. This is great. It's like, well, the firm's had this for 5 years. But one-on-one grassroots effort.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And it's funny because sometimes I feel as though I'm a salesperson of data. So sometimes a lawyer will come to me and they just want, I need to track the spend on my matter. And I'll kind of, make a couple reports for them and send it back. Like, I think this might also be helpful, or it might be helpful for you to see a breakdown by timekeeper. And a lot of times they end up saying, yeah, this is great. Go ahead and schedule that to be sent to me as well. So I try to sneak in a couple, additional reports or visualizations whenever someone comes to me.
Okay.
A salesperson of data.
Yeah. Add that to your LinkedIn.
You had something else to add, Jessica? I'm sorry, Peter.
Oh, no, I was going to say that's how we add value. If we were just there to do exactly what they said, then, they could be doing it all themselves. But, we are subject matter experts in data analysis and, project management or pricing, insert whatever you do there. And we demonstrate that added value by saying, and also whenever they ask us for requests.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. I really can echo that. But the best salespeople help you identify how they can bring value to you, right? And then they can, and I think that's actually helpful. So that's I think identifying where you can add value, what people actually need, and how you can fulfill that need. That's actually a really important aspect of bringing any technology or new process into the firm, because if the people don't need it and they don't feel the need, they're never going to do what you want. and they're never gonna use this new shiny solution because they go like, it works fine like I do it. Why should I change? So uncovering that value, I think, is like key in any change management that you want to do.
Yeah, and I would like to touch on that collaboration piece, and maybe I can just switch it off to not distract with the shiny charts and all the choices that you might need to make. But that collaboration, what role does it really play in deciding, what charts will you use, what KPIs you will show? So when you have that one-to-one conversation, and the first trial might not be success because they might have a different layout, and I hear in some firms they do want to see bar charts, in the other firms they just want numbers. So there is no one picture. So it sounds that it would fit every single scenario. So in your experience, what role that collaboration, not only with attorneys one-to-one, but also your peers and your colleagues play in deciding on what dashboards and what reports to share?
I think collaboration is key because that's really how you understand what's important. There are obviously some default things just based on your experience. If you tell me it's a product liability case and it covers XYZ jurisdictions and our role is local counsel, then I can kind of come up with something that I think would be a good fit as a starting point. But where you really get that stickiness is through collaboration with colleagues and with the actual people who are going to be using that information. And then just to add a little to that, short anecdote, sometimes collaboration doesn't mean like only doing what they tell you that they want, because I've definitely had just recently a report that we'd been sending for a while that the first time they looked at it and they were like, whatever. But then there was a change in the engagement, and then all of a sudden that one report was like the most important one. So keep the faith.
A great tip. Corey, what are your thoughts on that?
I echo everything that Jessica said. I also think, it's just so important learning the specifics of the particular matter or the engagement at hand. What's important in tracking and managing a matter for one lawyer, might not be important at all for another. And so I'm always just, trying to find out at the onset, what is it that's important to you? If it's a monthly retainer, obviously you really need to track things at a month level. If it's a, high volume dispute that you're working hundreds of hours on per week, you care about that at a daily level. So I think just getting a feel for the particular matter at hand and just that collaboration piece and just going back and forth and just engaging and learning more. And then, playing our role as we can show you data at this level or at this level. Oh, you're interested and you're tracking this at a task code level, we can pull that in as well. A lot of times I think lawyers don't even realize that we have that data at our fingertips for them. And prior to Clocktomizer, it was really difficult and manual to get that data and to present it in a digestible way. So I think that collaboration piece is just, very back and forth. And as we've been saying, we can provide value in many ways by presenting that data to them.
And I'd also just add I was going to add a plug for collaboration with like financial systems, IT, like not just your legal project management or pricing colleagues, but like the firm as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that stood out here is that you can actually change these reports much easier. And to your point, Corey, and that's something that I've experienced myself, is that people are so used to hearing, yeah, that's super difficult to change. Oh, that's gonna take us 3 months. That you go like, I don't, if it takes me 3 months before I get that, I'm not even interested anymore. And I think so bringing that up and saying, hey, well, actually, so just so you know, and this is kind of a very practical thing, but at the end of the conversation, when you show that report, say, actually, we can change this. Maybe not to everything, but we can definitely give it a spin and see if there's anything that would make this report more useful to you. Tell us what it is. If you don't tell us, we can change it, but we can change these things really easily. And I think, lowering that barrier of actually asking for something that people would really want, that also, that's an important thing to really get to what will drive them and what will bring value to a partner or whoever is the consumer of the report. So I think, letting them know that you can change, that you can ask for other things, and that you may actually get a yes instead of a no. That so many people, until a couple of years ago, people were just used to not being able to get to any sort of information. I think that's important to keep communicating that. Technology has moved forward, and we're in a different place than where we were 10 years ago or only 5 years ago. So I think that's important to keep communicating, because the type of work, the way people work may not necessarily change that much, but the access to information and how we can unlock it, that has changed significantly.
I think
I
the change.
I couldn't agree more, culturally as well, because I remember when I first started in law firms, the data was locked down. Like it was so hard to even do that type of analysis at all, the long way. So now that we're able to do it at a click and a press of a button, gets that information to them, when the client calls, they can get it right away.
And there's a question incoming. Do you want me to take it, Yolita? Because I think it's actually a question for you, Corey. And then I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well, Jessica. But just because I know how Kano Gates has used Clocktomizer, but the question is, how long did it take the team to transition from the old way to the new Clocktomizer way of doing things? Did you do it in phases? Any lessons learned that you can share with regards to implementing Clocktomizer as your go-to solution for LPM?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'd say, we're probably 2.5 to 3 years into our Clocktomizer journey. And to be transparent, I would say it probably took a year in the beginning just for our team to get really comfortable with Clocktomizer, to get comfortable with the data. What's been really amazing about working with Clocktomizer is, and Jessica, I think actually mentioned this before the webinar started, but the response time with Clocktomizer is very quick. And when we bring up a feature request or an issue that we're running into, there just tends to be the turnaround of getting those things implemented tends to be much faster than we've experienced. But in that initial year, we were kind of trying to understand how our data was flowing into Clocktomizer, if we were missing something, such as getting task codes in there, activity codes, some of the other things that we use as a firm, and we have that data in our financial system. It took that initial year to just get a really good feel for the data that's in there. If we're missing something, can we pull it in? And the Clocktomizer team was amazing in working with us to find out where that data lives and if it can be imported into Clocktomizer. I'd say once we got over that initial hurdle, it was probably another year of a grassroots effort, as Jessica had mentioned, to get that in front of the lawyers. We have this tool, we can provide you with these reports. And so I'd say after 2 years, we're now at a point where we probably are setting up 40 to 50 new reports, scheduled reports, a month going out to lawyers. And of course, there are some heavy hitters in that group, lawyers that continue to come back for us, but 40 to 50 new reports a month. I consider that a lot, because of all the ongoing reports, it's probably hundreds. And I think there's still room to grow there. We're actually working on a newsletter where we're going to talk more about Clocktomizer, what it can do, the reports that we can set up for lawyers. And we're focusing specifically on the availability of cost and disbursement information now, which, yay, that's something we've been hoping would be in Clocktomizer since we first got Clocktomizer. So yes, it's a grassroots effort. It's not a 1 month to 2 month thing, but I think we've really come leaps and bounds from where we first started.
That's a great journey to
hear. Yeah, yeah, our experience was similar. I think it does take a few months to get the data in. and to understand the terminology, to educate everyone on what things are called and where they are in Clocktomizer. And for us, from day one, as soon as we got Clocktomizer, everything that could be tracked in Clocktomizer was like, we were like, we're now using this thing. So anything that was kind of new moving forward. There were some things that we were not really able to track in Clocktomizer because we were responsible for costs and disbursements. And so to Corey's point, immediately, I think it was probably within a year of us getting on board, and now that's something that's available. So once we get that fully integrated, we'll be able to move even more things into Clocktomizer. We really haven't found another solution that's so simple to use and tracks the budgets and stuff like that in that way.
Great feedback. Thank you very much. And of course, very happy to have you as our customer sharing the feedback, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to improve the product without it. So it's very, very valuable. Thank you. And we have 5 minutes left for today's webinar, and I think we could talk forever. There's more use cases and great ideas to be heard, but maybe we should just briefly reflect on, so what should you suggest to be the key takeaways from your dashboard journey, and what would you advise the audience today if they are just about to get it started with that, or maybe they just stuck and need some encouragement to improve that?
I can go first. So I would say you can start small. It doesn't have to be a huge project. If you're in a role like mine, you're already looking up data on a pretty regular basis. Next time you do, maybe try making it in Clocktomizer as a dashboard and see how it fits.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And then I also think, just experiment with the different visuals and the data that's in Clocktomizer. I admittedly sometimes forget all of the different visualizations. So sometimes if I get a request for a really simple report, such as, I need to see the spend by month, while I'm in there, I'll just run through all of the different visuals to see if there's, a more visual way to portray the data. And I'll kind of pair that visual with just the basic numerical data as well. And that kind of helps people get a comfort level with the visual side, but they also still have the numbers, which tends to help.
Great. So simplicity, try out new visuals. And if I can add, based on what I heard you share today, don't be afraid of that collaboration. Reach out and get a no. If it doesn't work, change it. So a change or a no is actually an opportunity to improve. So I think that's my takeaways from today. Peter, anything else to add?
No, I think the point where just try it. I think that's the beauty of today's technology, right? You can just try it. It doesn't have to be completely thought out beforehand what a 5-page dashboard will look like, and just put some things that people request a lot, put it on a dashboard and send it to them and say, well, I can get this to you automatically every week if you want, and then let me know if there's anything else you want on it. So I think that's keep it simple, not any simpler, but that's I think the key to getting started is get started. Not just overthink and think and think and think. Just get something out there, and then just see how people respond to it. Maybe they say, well, this is not what I'm looking for. Well, at least and you can improve on it. So yeah, I think that's the key to anything that you want to change. You can make that change as long as you're the one that starts doing something different. So I would really encourage everyone to give that a try. Well, there's some sports brands, I think, right, that has this as their slogan, but let's not go there. Not wearing it today. Oh, actually, I am wearing it today. Well, anyways, okay, so just do it.
And that's having a great note. Sorry, Jessica.
Oh, I said he should get an endorsement deal.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I don't have enough Instagram followers for that, so.
And that's a great note to finish on. Thank you, to all the audience. Yeah, thank you again for joining our discussion today. And most importantly, of course, thank you for our guest speakers for sharing your thoughts. But just go there, try it out. And if you need any guidance, of course, you can reach out to us at Clocktomizer and Glitera for more support. And you will receive an ebook as well. So that's some nice takeaway as well as a follow-up from this webinar. So watch out in your inboxes. You will have a quick inspirational little guide on where to get started, what to think of, and what dashboards you might want to try out with first. Of course, it's not exclusive of all the options out there. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, good day, and good night, probably in some parts of the world. So looking forward to seeing you all in our next webinars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.